So everyone is fawning over Nolan's Odyssey, but after actually listening to a wide variety of reviews, I still have no desire to see it. Since that seems so baffling to everyone, let me explain why, and stick around to the end because the answer has been surprising even to me. First, let me explain my pre-existing expectations for the film. I was never on board the culture war hate train against it, convinced it was going to be totally awful for being woke. I don't think the people on that train represent most people skeptical of the film, but I was always frustrated that they made the rest of us look bad, because I was just mad that the film looked incredibly cheap, ugly, dull, and inauthentic. It clearly was not even trying to be the vibrant, immersive, ancient epic it could have been, and no amount of otherwise good storytelling was going to change that. So while I couldn't say that I knew the film was going to be terrible overall, no level of praise for any other aspects of the filmmaking was going to prove me wrong about my reservations and make me want to sit through 3 hours of atrocious visuals. However, the reviews themselves, while insanely positive, were so much more interesting than I could have expected, and only reaffirmed that it is not worth my time and money. First of all, the most glazing reviews feel so artificial. I'm not saying the reviewers are lying or being paid, just that they're clearly desperate to defend Nolan, either out of devotion or out of fear of being on the wrong side of the culture war, and so they see what they want to see. Not to say I'm immune to the same confirmation bias. In fact, part of why I don't want to see it is that I know I'll have a bad time because I won't be able to stop looking for reasons to hate it. But back to the positive reviews, besides their praise just feeling forced and exaggerated to the point of parody, the few with anything specific to say sound like they're describing every other Nolan movie ever, pretty much all of which I find incredibly overrated. They compare the use of its score to create tension and scale to Dunkirk and Tenet. They compare its big emotional performances to Inception or Interstellar. They compare its supposedly poignant themes and ending to The Dark Knight or Oppenheimer. And I don't really care for any of those things in any of those movies. The positive reviews all sound like they're coming from Nolan stans who simply love it for being the quintessential Nolan movie. And as someone who saw through the shallow pretentiousness of Nolan's filmmaking a while ago, I'm just not convinced that it has anything for me. But then there's the more balanced and seemingly honest reviews, the ones that weigh the positives against the negatives for more average scores. And those were the ones that convinced me that the film had nothing to justify my paying to see it. The most common complaints, which I've never seen specifically refuted by even the most positive reviewers, include clunky pacing that leaves it feeling both rushed and boring, terrible dialogue and exposition, a mixed bag of performances, and a relentlessly self-serious and bleak tone. And of course, some have supported my suspicion that the supposed thematic depth and moving character work is in fact disappointingly shallow, inconsistent, and heavy-handed. To be clear, I am not making these judgments myself, just relaying them. But the most interesting part is that among both the mediocre and insanely positive reviews, the highlights of the film were consistently reported to be its stunning visuals and immersive realism, which are the furthest conceivable descriptors from those I would use to describe the footage of the trailers. So with the only thing that most people seem universally positive about being the one thing that I can currently judge for myself and which I have been upset about from the beginning, I have been given no reason whatsoever to give Nolan the chance to win me over. But you know what? In spite of all that, I admit I've been tempted to see it anyway, so I can share my opinion from the perspective of someone who's actually seen it, and because it does sound like it has some decent individual scenes. However, the reason I have so far been so stubborn in refusing to watch it when friends invite me to go with them is because I am simply sick of the appropriation and bastardization of ancient culture and literature by Hollywood, or perhaps more specifically, their double standard about which cultures must be protected and which are free to exploit. This, plus Nolan's pretentious hypocrisy about his intentions with this film, pretending to care about historical authenticity when it suits him while evidently being more concerned with modernizing the story to suit his purposes, makes me deeply uncomfortable about supporting it. But what do you think? Have you seen the Odyssey? If so, what do you think of it? And if not, why not? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, and if you think I'm wrong, go ahead and persuade me to see it. There may even be a chance you succeed. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on Nolan or authenticity in filmmaking, check out either of the videos on the screen. And until next time, just keep thinking out loud.